Hey, thanks so much for finding the video. Do us a favor. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. Be sure to leave your comment. We love to interact. Enjoy the video. But let's start today with a look at how the Saints' 3-day draft period went. Well, the Saints opened it up on Thursday, as we know by now, confusing a little people with their pick.
With the 28th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Payton Turner, defensive end, Houston.
We did talk about this a bit on Friday. I don't hate the pick. Some think they reached. We now know the Saints tried to move up into the top 10 to draft one of the draft's top cornerbacks, and it was going to cost them 3 first-round picks and a second. They said, thanks, no thanks. We'll stand pat at 28, and they got a guy they really like. I saw a really good analogy over the weekend. One of you on Twitter mentioned, reminds me a lot of Anthony Hargrove from the 2009 Super Bowl championship team. Hargrove that season was a backup, had 40 tackles, 5 sacks, played inside and out, and maybe that's the role Payton Turner can play early in his career while you're very likely settled with Cam Jordan and Marcus Davenport as your starters at defensive end. A versatile guy, and Sean Payton talked a little bit about the vision for Payton Turner.
We list a position, and we think Payton is a defensive end that can play on either side. You'd say you do see him with prototype height, weight, and size. He's got good length. We feel like he plays the run and the pass equally well. And so he'd be an end.
So the Saints go defense to start on Thursday. They come back on Friday, and they were desperately trying to move up as many of the players they coveted kept hearing their names called. But they stand pat at number 60 and go defense again.
The 60th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Pete Werner, linebacker, Ohio State.
The Ohio State pipeline continues. A lot of LSU fans were ticked because it wasn't Jabril Cox. And then you realize Jabril Cox waited until round 4 to hear his name called. And you understand Pete Werner is a hell of a pick. Guy was a 3-year starter at Ohio State. He was a captain. He was all Big Ten. Played in major games. And by the way, the Saints pipeline from Ohio State has been fruitful. Malcolm Jenkins, Von Bell, Mike Thomas, Marshawn Lattimore. It's not like these guys didn't hit. They've all been really good NFL players. This is a guy, Pete Werner, who has the opportunity to be a day 1 starter for the Saints at inside linebacker. And it means if they want to go back and re-sign Quan Alexander, you're not depending on a veteran like Quan Alexander coming off a devastating injury. In his post-draft interview, Werner talked about his versatility.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest pieces that I bring to the table. I mean, you talk about a guy that can fit in the A or B gap as well as lock down a tight end or fit well off a zone. I think that's me in particular. And I think that versatility piece helped me a ton headed into this draft.
Saints still did not have a cornerback, but they did have 2 third-round picks. They packaged those picks together. They move up to the 76th overall selection, moving up in round 3 to finally get that defensive back.
With the 76th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Paulson Adibo, defensive back, Stanford.
6'1", 200 pounds. He has good size. Paulson Adibo was all Pac-12 in the 2019 season. He opted out of 2020 due to COVID. It's worth exploring. Had Paulson Adibo played the 2020 season, perhaps he's a guy that would have seen his draft stock elevate. Now, maybe he's a Sean Wade, where he was considered a first-round pick, played the 2020 season, and saw his draft stock plummet. Who knows? But the Saints have a long, athletic dude that was an impactful player at Stanford in 2019. And Paulson Adibo talked about having the opportunity to play opposite Marshawn Lattimore and be a lockdown corner.
One of my mottos is everything that happens had to happen. So not exactly, where you go or how high you get picked, but the fact that I'm here, I'm happy to be here. So not really, here to dwell on anything. Obviously, I sat out this season, so that probably had something to do with it. If you look at my production, passes defended, interceptions, any stat that's a makeup of a good cornerback, then you can tell that I'm going to have the opportunity to be a lockdown corner.
After 3 defensive players, on day 3, the Saints finally pulled the trigger on an offensive player, and it was a quarterback.
The New Orleans Saints select Ian Book, quarterback, Notre Dame.
Now, this might have come as a surprise to some, but if you listen to this show, it should not have, because on April the 8th, Mike Detillier on this show said this.
I do think the Saints will pick a quarterback in this draft class. I have no doubt of that. I think Sean will pick one. And I think it'll be in the 3rd round. And I think that quarterback will be Ian Book from Notre Dame.
Now, it was in round 4, not round 3, but it was Ian Book of Notre Dame. Mike Detillier explained that he thinks that Ian Book fills the Taysom Hill role. And it's very possible that you don't have Taysom Hill back in 2021. So Ian Book could be that guy. They didn't draft Ian Book to potentially be a starter in the NFL. They drafted him to be an athletic option in the Taysom Hill mold. And that does make sense if Sean Payton covets him. For what it's worth, Ian Book talked about why he feels New Orleans is a good spot for him.
Yeah, I just think it's Coach Payton and, the offense there. And obviously, I think it's huge that Drew Brees was there for as long as he was doing what he was doing. We're different players, but we're similar in stature. And he proved to everybody down there and in the world that he could do it. And I want to do the same thing. And I just feel like I fit in that system well. And, those are big shoes to fill. There's no doubt about it. But that's exciting. That's an exciting challenge for me. And I think it's just that system and, what Drew has done. A lot of times, get comparisons, that Drew Brees or, someone similar in stature. So that's exciting for me. That's huge shoes to fill, and that's exciting for me. That's exactly what I want to go do.
The Saints stayed on the offensive side. They had a 6 and 2 7s. They packaged their 6th-round pick in one of their 7s to move up in round 6 to take a massive, literally, prospect out of Kentucky.
With the 206th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Landon Young, offensive tackle, Kentucky.
I love this pick. One of the benefits of me doing Around the SEC every day is it forces me to pay attention to things like Kentucky football. Landon Young was a 5-star, had offers from Bama and Auburn, everybody. He wanted to create his own legacy, so he went to Kentucky. He became a starter, a team captain, first team All-SEC, started 24 games at left tackle, 26 games started in all, 49 games played. He's already married, by the way. So Sean Payton, you got to know he loves the maturity in a guy like Landon Young. Can play either side of the ball. And, oh, by the way, he talked about his experience on the interior as well.
So that's definitely something I've been working on more in college. They definitely tried me out when I first got into college in the inside, but liked me better as an outside player. But I had practice all the way from high school into college, being as a guard, putting my hand in the ground, doing a 3-point stance. We were strictly in a 2-point stance at tackle in college. But again, something when I was in my pro day prep and we had guys out there helping us with our position drills, that was something that they really emphasized, was being able to be versatile, make sure you can play the inside and outside.
Love that pick in round 6. You never know what may happen with Teron Armstead. Landon Young could well be that eventual replacement, and in the meantime could be a jumbo package or provide depth on the interior. Love that pick in round 6. And then the Saints, with their final pick, stayed on the offensive side and got a pass catcher.
With the 255th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints pick
Kaiwan Baker, wide receiver.
6'1", 215. He ran a 4.4 140 at his pro day. I can't tell you I know a thing about him other than what I have read, but Kaiwan Baker does fit a need that the Saints have, adding another receiver to that room. And when he was in his post-draft interview, talked about where he fits in the wide receiver room.
Throughout my college career, I've probably lined up in the slot the most, so I'll say I'll have more success there, but I could definitely move around. That's part of my game.
You can grade this draft class however you want. Ultimately, we'll only know after it's all manifest on the field. For example, Mel Kiper gave this draft class a C+. He gave the Saints 2017 class a B. I'd say that one worked out actually pretty well for New Orleans. In time, we'll know, but what absolutely the Saints did they addressed needs. They got a cornerback that can play on the boundary. They got a defensive lineman after losing 3 in free agency. They got a linebacker that could be a day one starter. They got a really talented offensive lineman that can play inside and out. They gave themselves an option at wide receiver, and they took a chance on a really veteran quarterback who brings some athleticism to the field. I like what they did. We can debate about value and all that sort of stuff. I'll remind you this. In that 2017 class, the Saints traded up in round 3 to take a running back in Alvin Kamara after signing Adrian Peterson in free agency. And a lot of people said the Saints are idiots for trading up to draft a running back after taking Adrian Peterson, signing Adrian Peterson in free agency. I know that because I'm one of them. That was a good lesson to learn. They know more than we do. I like the Saints draft class. I like that they address needs. We'll see how it all plays out once they get in some of the offseason work and into camp. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.